Hey, I'm Dave Klein, and you are listening to Foreskin, Gamers Uncut, on the very special Game of the Year edition. We are going to do a little something different this time because we had an incredibly long episode, so we're just going to go ahead and cut to our Game of the Year and some other highlights. But let's go ahead and do some introductions. I'm Dave the Douchebag Klein, and sitting to my left...
John the Fascist Quick.
And Joe the nicknameless Joe Baker.
Joe the nicknameless Joe Baker.
Alright,
Can we just keep that? Keep that as the normal nickname?
Okay.
So let's go ahead and go on, and we're going to cut to Game of the Year.
In our opinion, our favorite game of the year was without a doubt From Software's Dark Souls.
Yes, without a doubt. I was so engrossed in this game. I beat the game, and it took me probably 80 to 90 hours of playtime to beat the game. And I was instantly like, I want to play New Game Plus. I want to play it again, even though I have other games that I want to play. I was so engrossed in it. And I love that game.
It's exactly like the same for me. And I lost days of my life to this game. I would sit down on a Saturday, and I'd be like, alright, I need to, do some laundry, go grocery shopping, this and that. But, I'll play a couple of hours of Dark Souls. And then 10 hours later, when the sun has gone back the fuck down, I'll realize, oh shit, I've accomplished nothing except beating Sen's Fortress.
Yeah. Like, lately I've been pretty good about... I'm not a kid anymore, so video games to me is something that I do in my free time, and that means like stuff like this. Foreskin comes first, weekly catch-up comes first, all this stuff I put ahead of it. Dark Souls didn't let that happen. I went to my job, I did that, but like Foreskin...
Barely.
Yeah, barely. All I thought of... I had Dark Souls wiki open constantly on my iPad, and I would just look at it at work. But yeah, so there was a while that, I don't know if anyone noticed or not, but there were really no weekly catch-up updates or Foreskin updates. Oh, we'd record the show, but the YouTube video takes time, and that was time away that I could be playing Dark Souls.
Yeah,
well,
it was not a good thing.
Alright, here's the thing, like, we know that where the flame is gonna come from, and there was an article that was published on IGN a while back where it was somebody doing a side-by-side comparison of Dark Souls and basically angrily attacking Skyrim and saying how Dark Souls wins on every single level. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Aside from the framework genre, that of being fantasy, and the fact that they are open world, these are the only two things that Dark Souls and Skyrim really share. Skyrim is an RPG, plain and simple. It is a fantastically well-made RPG. It is an RPG that you can get into, but first and foremost, it's an RPG. Dark Souls, no matter what anybody might, tell you, even possibly the game itself, Dark Souls is not an RPG.
It's an adventure game.
It is straight up, yeah.
It's an action-adventure game with RPG elements.
Yeah,
with strong RPG elements, but it's an action-adventure game.
You don't really assume a role in this game. It's like, they have these, like, builds or possible, like, character things that you could be at the beginning, like, pyromancer, warrior, thief, and all that good stuff, but it doesn't really matter how you start out, because you can, just by changing what your equipment that you have on you, like, I started off as a pyromancer. If I wanted to become a thief, all I had to do was equip the right stuff, and suddenly I was a thief. And I had everything kind of going for me.
John was pretty smart with that pyromancer start. I was not a pyromancer, and watching John play after me and flaming bosses to death, I was like, damn, I made a terrible choice going melee. But I really like playing melee, so... Which is cool, and you can do that. And you can make those choices, and it really giantly affects how the game plays out.
It sounds like there's plenty of replayability then.
Yeah, it's like you have different playing... You don't assume new roles in this like you would in Skyrim, but you adopt different playing styles.
Well, I'm not saying Skyrim you do your different playing styles. You can play however you want to, and you can, change it up however you want, but I think that's selling Skyrim short.
I'm not trying to sell Skyrim short. I'm not saying that there
Skyrim was kind of an achievement.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that there aren't different playing styles in Skyrim. I want to make that clear. But like in Dark Souls, you're not assuming a role like you are in Skyrim.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna go on to a different point, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is, I think for me, Skyrim's the type of game where it's great. It's a fantastic game, and I enjoy that type of game where you're free to do whatever you want. There's a story pushing you forward, and it's almost more leisurely in a sense, and it's a great experience. But Dark Souls for me is a game where I was so drawn into the world. Their environments were so well done. The character bosses and creatures were so creepy and cool and interesting to find. And I just got invested into this world, and I just wanted to explore this world, and it's something that it drew me in more than something like Skyrim, where I enjoy it, I have fun playing it, but Dark Souls just was like, I need to play it. It was a difference.
Well, I think it goes to the idea of story in video games, and although Skyrim does have interesting stories and stuff, you could play it for 16 hours and get plenty out of it, almost as much as if you'd play it for 100 hours.
Well,
whereas it seems like with Dark Souls,
well, Dark Souls has no story almost. Dark Souls has a very bare. This is how From Software has always done their games, and I'm one of the few people that I know that has played Dark Souls, or not Dark Souls, From Software games ever since King's Field on the original PlayStation, which I think might have been their first game. And they've always tackled their games in this way, where you are thrown into a fucked up world, things are really shitty, and you're just in there, and you kind of just, there's a very bare minimum story as to why shit's fucked up, and that's it. And you somehow need to try and fix it and survive and get through it. And there's a lot of history built within the environments and worlds and creatures, but it's just left for you to interpret on your own. There's nothing that tells you this is what it is. And maybe you'll pick up a weapon that has some bare minimum description, and you can base on yourself, but maybe that's why you create your own world almost based on what they give you.
I mean, it is obvious that the creators of this game have a lore that they have written, and then there's a lot of depth and a lot of narrative really to this world and to everybody that you meet in a lot of ways. But it's it's part of what this game is about. The game is about exploration. It's about discovery. You will only really pick these things up if you are looking to pick these things up, because there is you can find out what Anor Londo is, one of the major places in it. You can't find out exactly what it is, but you have to pay attention to descriptions of weapons, to random things that NPCs might say,
or even NPCs that you don't have to fight. And one of the things that I love about From Software is they make so many secret areas that are incredibly expansive that you never have to find. And it's such a cool treat when you find something like that, where it's in Dark Souls there's this giant tree, incredibly hard to find. You have to manage to figure out that there's 2 secret walls that you can go through, and all of a sudden there's a giant tree you can go down that then opens up into this area called Ash Lake, which, if anyone's seen Nausicaa, the anime, it's very reminiscent of the area in Nausicaa where there's the giant trees growing from the bottom of the lake. And it's really almost sad, this forgotten world, but this ancient world of, I don't know, it's just the environment and the way they did it just makes it, I don't know, it gave me a lot of emotion. It was emotional for me.
It was strangely, I guess you could say, it was strangely emotional. Without saying anything, you got the weight of this world, and you got while you were never told what was at stake, you always got the notion that there was something at stake, and it really does fall to you, because you do meet while you spend most of this game alone, at least if you play only single player, you do spend most of this game tackling all the horrors of this world by yourself. You do run into NPCs. None of them ever really aid you, but they just are there, and they're kind of on this same hopeless quest as you are, and this cruel fate that you're tossed into, and slowly but surely, every single one of them will succumb to what's called becoming hollow. Where, after, part of it is about Dark Souls. When you die, you're just kind of, resurrected again. Well, how it goes is, when you die and you're human, then you get resurrected as this undead creature called a hollow. And supposedly the longer you're a hollow, the more your grip on reality and your own humanity starts to slip away from you. And everybody you meet, eventually that's what happens to them. And so by the end of the game, when you do go and face the last boss, you're the only one out of this cadre of people that you pick up along the way.
I think there were a few people who remained on Hollow. Definitely all the merchants remained on Hollow. And some of the guys there's guilds you can join. But a lot of the people that you meet become Hollow. And you have no idea at the beginning of the game that that's going to happen, and it just does. And there's certain events that trigger them going hollow and becoming insane.
Oh yeah, there's this one smart-ass guy that you meet, right at the beginning at a Firelink Shrine. And he's there the entire time. He's a snide little bastard. But, eventually when he leaves and you find him later and he's gone hollow and he attacks you, and, by that time you're so powerful, you basically just, rape, pillage, and plunder his ass out of existence. But you kind of feel bad about it. You wanted to know why this guy was just sitting there chilling out the entire time, being a sarcastic little fuck.
Yeah, I think there's only one character that went hollow. No, the only character I ever wanted to kill didn't end up going hollow. And I was like, damn it! He's the only one I wanted to kill. But, yeah, it's a depressing world. And one thing I want to really touch on before we move on to anything else, for sure. I mean, we can keep talking about it, but it's the difficulty of the game. And while it's definitely a difficult game, it's something where this is really all that's ever talked about with Dark Souls, is how difficult the game is. And it has to do with that idea that basically the way it works is when you die in Dark Souls, you restart at a checkpoint that you've activated, which could be incredibly far away or incredibly close whenever you die, and you lose all of your souls. Now, your souls are essentially like gold. They're your currency, or experience points. It's all wrapped into one. Your souls are your currency for everything in the game, whether it be leveling up, whether it be buying new equipment, whatever, what have you. And you can then run and try and recover your souls, and if you go to the point where you died again and pick up your souls, you have them again, and you're safe until you die again. Which is just an ongoing thing throughout the game, period. No matter what. If you die when you don't have your souls and you've lost them, they're gone forever. So that's why it's considered to be incredibly difficult. And I think a lot of people who have said that this game is super, super difficult kind of miss the point of it, which is what John and I were touching on at the beginning, which is this game is about exploration. And it's actually there are points in the game where, to me, it doesn't matter if you die, it's about trying to find a new area and trying to find new equipment, because the armor is incredibly important to find, and even just finding a new piece of equipment is more powerful than all the souls that you could be losing, because it's all about exploration and exploring this world around you. And yeah, it sucks losing your souls, but it's not as bad as it would seem. And plus, if you take an RPG, or like a normal RPG, when you die, you're dead, and you start at the checkpoint anyways. This is just kind of a mix on that, where if you die, you have a chance of getting your souls back. There's just no way of saving them. So it's just kind of a different way of doing it. I don't know if you want to touch on that at all, John.
No, that has been what has turned a lot of people off on it. And I will say this, it's not so much, well, it is difficult in the sense that, yeah, you do have to, you have to pay a lot of close attention to wherever you go. And that's the part about Dark Souls, with games like Skyrim and with so many other games, when you're just going from point A to point B, you don't really have to think about it. You can kind of just shut off and go. In Dark Souls, you cannot do that. Every single step you take, you have to watch, because this world is set up to kill you. It wants you dead. And that is where a lot of the, I guess that in part where a lot of the difficulty comes in for a lot of people is because they want to let their guard down at certain points in the game, and you just can't do that in Dark Souls. But that, that aside, that is kind of a difficult aspect of it. But that aside, the game, like, again, following the point of exploration, the game doesn't give you a lot to really, like, go on in terms of instruction. It does not hold your hand. It wants you to figure it out for yourself. And some gamers aren't just not wanting to do that anymore, or or newer gamers aren't used to this, because games nowadays hold your hand quite a bit. Dark Souls will not do that. It's, that's part of its whole notion of exploration and discovery.
But at the same point, it's very possible. And it's
It's not a difficult thing to pick these things up. It's not difficult whatsoever, but it does involve some trial and error.
And there's definitely a lot of trial and error, and there's points where you probably will fail. But if that's part of what makes it so rewarding, because when you beat that boss, you fucking beat that boss. Did you see that guy? I killed him? Hell yeah.
Oh, I danced for 5 minutes after I beat the gaping dragon, because that damn thing had killed me I don't even know how many times.
I danced for like 7 minutes, and then had my on-screen character dance when I beat Sith, and then the Great Wolf Sith, which I then watched John, who has a Pyromancer build, kill on his first try.
Yeah, I totally
and I hated him. It took me like 40 tries. I was like, damn it, John, fuck you. I was dancing all night, and he does it in one try. But yeah, so it's a fantastic game, and I just want to say, for me personally, I'm really happy to see From Software get the recognition it's now getting, because when King's Field first came out, it was a similar style game, except it was more of a true first-person. It was a first-person perspective RPG, and a lot of the elements were similar. And I loved the game, and my friend loved the game, and it was raped in the reviews. So was the King's Field 2, so was King's Field for PlayStation 2, and I thought they were all fantastic games. So I have loved From Software ever since they started. I'm really glad people are finally catching on and seeing that these guys know what they're doing. They can make a damn good game. They're good designers.
Yeah, and which, by the way, at the GDC Awards coming up, I believe Dark Souls is nominated for Best Game Design and Game of the Year. It's got a lot of stiff competition going into it. I kind of hope the game developers that are actually on the panel will at least acknowledge it in one of those categories.
You know what? I could see Skyrim winning Game of the Year, but I really think when you look at the way Dark Souls was designed, it was so tightly designed. And something I was reading a Kotaku article today on it, and something that they were mentioning was just how Sen's Fortress is designed just in itself. And that's the first time you're introduced to the Mimic.
Yeah.
And just how they have 5 chests there, and by the 5th chest you're used to, like, great, there's all this loot, that's awesome. And that's when there's finally a Mimic there. And if you don't know to look for the Mimic, which you're probably not, he just immediately eats you and swallows you and then spits you out and you lose a shitload of health. It's just one of those, like, unexpected things where the designers were able to probably rightly predict that you were going to do that. And they designed it that way, and they could tell that that was going to happen. And it's just like one of those interesting little minor details that they paid attention throughout the entire game. Except for Blighttown. Fuck Blighttown. I hated Blighttown.
Yeah, that thing can die in fire.
Everything about Blighttown. But we should probably go on from praising Dark Souls and go on to, because it's over, but, best of 2011. It's okay if we go a little further on time. Alright guys, so that does it for the YouTube version of our podcast. Go ahead and listen to the full, I believe, hour-long edition of 2011's wrap-up, including some of the biggest highlights and events in gaming news, some of the best games, some of the biggest disappointments of 2011. You can listen to it all. Just click on the link in the YouTube description and go ahead and comment your thoughts if you disagree with John and I about Dark Souls, or you agree with Joe that pretty much 2011 was just a rockin' year. And go ahead and let us know. Is there anything else we should probably say?
This was the biggest disappointment of an ass game I have ever had the displeasure of raping my eyes to.